when it comes to comic books, I am a on and off nerd, so to speak. Ever since I got my job, which I've had for over 4 years now, which is a fact in and of itself that scares the crap out of me, that I've officially had my job longer than I've been in high school. High school in Sweden is 3 years, not 4, so it's really longer than high school. But ever since I got my job, and even before then, but mostly because since I got my job I've gotten money, I've had I had this annual tradition, at least for the first 2 years, where I would go on a comic binge, where I would go into a comic book, I would go to Amazon and I would spend like 150 to 200 bucks just buying these comic books, like really important pieces of comic book fiction. Like we're talking Watchmen, we're talking like Batman Hush, Batman Year One, the classic I would buy deluxe copies of Spider-Man, Kraven's Last Hunt, Death of the Stacys, stuff like that. The stuff that really interested me, that I really wanted to read, or wanted to reread in English, because the only way I've been able to read them before was in Swedish, which is kind of terrible in a lot of ways. But then, stuff changed. I discovered the website That Guy with the Glasses, and eventually was led astray from beyond the Nostalgia Critics videos to other reviewers with other mediums in mind. And in this case, I'm talking about Linkara. Now, where I think that Linkara's videos aren't that great, fantastic, basically because of the fact that I don't like his comedy. I don't find comic books funny that much. I mainly watch Linkara's show because I like it when he is informative. Therefore, like this week's episode, which happens to be about NBC Comics, doesn't really I watch every episode and I enjoy it, but it doesn't really interest me that much because it's not something that will help me further understand comic books. Like the comic books I care about. I have very much been I was a Marvel guy my entire childhood. I watched X-Men, and I really love Spider-Man. I have a video up on YouTube right now that you can check out, my poster review. I just show, a poster video where I just show the posters in my room, and I have 3 Spider-Man posters next to each other. I love the guy. In fact, hang on a second. These 2 bastards are sitting on my couch, and I have a third one that has a Christmas hat that only gets pulled out on Christmas, go figure. Point being, I was a Marvel guy. But when I started watching Linkara's videos, he got me interested in the DCU. I was always a Batman guy as well. It was Spider-Man and Batman, my 2 favorite heroes. But and that's the thing, that this video is about Captain America, so we got to get to that, the movie. But what I'm trying to explain where I'm coming from as a comic book geek. Because I've become a comic book nerd that actually buys on a regular basis. I don't buy single issues, but I buy trades. I buy trades of the series I'm interested in. But I went from being a Marvel fanboy. I don't know if it can be a fanboy when you really only have interest in one series, essentially, to becoming a DC fanboy, basically. I read Teen Titans, I read Superman, I read Batman, I read Flash, I read Green Lantern. I can read anything that's DC. Pretty much. But the thing was, the character that I had I had pre-thought out thoughts about was Superman. I always thought that Superman sucked because Superman was the Boy Scout. He was boring. He was too powerful, which is not true if you actually get into Superman's character. He's actually one of the most interesting characters in the DC universe. But I also found myself wondering, because I had the same feeling about another character, the Marvel Universe equivalent, which I guess you can only say is Captain America. And when it came to this movie, Captain America, the First Avenger, I was skeptic. I was skeptic about how Joe Johnston, who's, I should have prepared this more, just looked at his filmography. Off the top of my head, the only movie I know that he's made is he was the director behind Jurassic Park 3, as far as I know. And Jurassic Park 3 is a movie that I love. I love Jurassic Park 3 because it's fucking terrible. It's a terrible movie. It makes no sense at all. but it's hilariously funny. Kind of like G.I. Joe. It's like a terrible movie, but it's enjoyable because it's so terrible and ludicrous. But anyway, I was skeptic to this mainly because I don't know anything about Captain America, or at least I didn't when I went to see it the first time. I saw it twice. Only I don't know if I can even say I saw it twice because I just came back from watching it a couple of hours ago. And the thing is, we've been having a lot of stuff moving around in this house, and we've been doing some things. We've gotten a new washer, new shelves. So I slept 4 hours last night and fell asleep in the theater, which has never happened before. At least I fell asleep in film school quite a bit, especially when we were going through the history of film, and you wake up and go to school at 9 o'clock in the morning and sit down and watch a silent film that has soothing music in the background and no dialogue. Of course you fall asleep. But this was the first time I've actually fallen asleep in a theater. I think there might be one more instance, but I can't even remember the movie. This is the first instance where I was actually nodding off and on through the entire movie. And I stayed awake for the most important parts, but honestly, the second viewing didn't really do much for me, which is kind of sad, because I was holding off making this review so I could take that into account. And so I don't know the character that well. I've checked some stuff before I went to see the movie a second time, got certain characters' relationships to each other, but let me put it like this. When I went to see the movie the first time, I went to see it with my comic book nerd friends, who basically, I went to see Green Lantern twice as well, and this was like the exact same thing. I went to see it with my with one group of nerd friends, the comic book nerdy friends first, and then my overall half nerdy friends. And when I went to see it with my comic book nerdy friends, I was 2 out of 4 that could actually point at the poster and ask, like, the guy to the far left, like, is that Dum Dum Dugan? And, like, my friend was like, yeah, that's Dum Dum Dugan. And the other two were like, who the fuck is Dum Dum Dugan? So I was like, wow, I'm a nerd. Nerdier than most. I know who Dum Dum Dugan is. I don't really know a whole lot about him, but I know who he is. Got a handlebar mustache, cowboy hat. Yeah, Dum Dum Dugan. So I know stuff, but I don't really know anything in depth about Captain America's history. But I was going into this movie, when me and my friends, the first time I went to see it, we actually like almost not took bets, but we said our expectations loud to each other. It's like, what do you think? What do you think you're going to give this movie? Like a review? Like, don't give me a number or just tell me overall experience. What do you think? And I said to my friends, I am expecting a movie that's better than Thor. And I like Thor, but I said I'm expecting a movie that will be better than Thor, but won't beat X-Men First Class. And that's what this movie delivers, just to say right away. I'm not going to spoil this one like my Green Lantern review, where I pretty much went through a lot of the movie and stuff, because I think this movie actually deserves to be seen more than Green Lantern or Cars 2 or anything like that. This movie is actually really, really good, and I think this movie succeeded with what Thor also started for me. It made me excited about the Avengers. Like, if Thor started to like give me a little thirst for more info and more pictures and like just the overall thought of like, shit, this is really happening. This movie, which also at the end of the credits has the Avengers trailer that's now online as well, it's just cool. It's cool to know, because I told this to my friends I went to see it with today, that I never thought, even when they announced it, even when they had all the actors at Comic-Con basically, like I said, this is never gonna fly. And who knows, maybe the movie will suck. I mean, I can't say anything outright. But you got Joss Whedon, who has written pretty good comic book stuff. Or like he understands the medium. He understands what he's doing with comic books. And you have this this all-star cast with all these characters that have at least been good in their own movies. Except I don't really like Iron Man. But then again, I'm allergic to douchebags, and Tony Stark, at least played by Robert Downey Jr., is kind of an asshole, which immediately is unappealing to me, even though that's the whole charm of the character. But Captain America, of all the Avenger tie-in movies, except maybe possibly Incredible Hulk, I'd have to rewatch that one. This one's my favorite. This one is, it's so good. Like, the thing about Superman and Captain America is that people talk about wimpy and talk about how they're softies, and that's supposed to be a bad thing. But just like with Superman, where you feel like you get this sense of sincerity with the character in the film or the comic book or whatever you're talking about. Like when Superman talks to someone, you take it seriously. It's like Superman is like his cape essentially is the flag that all the DC Universe characters rally under. And Captain America has always been that with the Marvel Universe. I've gotten that much. I remember when I read Ultimate Carnage, the 80s Spider-Man comic, 14 issues I think it is, where like Cletus Cassidy goes crazy and he starts killing people in New York with his crazy psycho family. And there's the end of this one issue where Spider-Man's been beaten down, and you see someone step up and just say like, "You need a hand, son," or something like that, and they just like they show you the panel with like Spider-Man looking up in awe at Captain America standing there. And that's when I understood that Captain America is supposed to be like he's the grandfather of Marvel Comics, and he is the hero that can rally all the other heroes. When Civil War, I was on Cap's side all the way, at least the parts of it I read, because again, I don't like Iron Man. But that's the thing. This movie, if anything, deserves credit for making that happen. I know it might be sappy to say, and indeed, a lot of people were acting like I was an idiot, and all the other people in the crowd were stupid too, that swallowed this oversympathetic crap like just hook, line, and sinker. But I did. Like, you start out with this incredibly well-made effect with, and you see this in the trailer, so I'm not going to go in too deep, but like this whimpering little Chris Evans who's digitally made, who really looks like a scrawny little bastard. And even then, when he's just talking, even though it's sappy as hell, when this doctor comes up to him and he asks him, "Do you want to kill Nazis?" Because he's basically, he has asthma, he's had scarlet fever, he's had all rheumatic fever, he's had all these weird diseases that have messed him up, so he obviously can't be in the army. But he still tries over and over again, and at the 5th attempt, this doctor asks him, "Do you want to kill Nazis?" To which, of course, he answers, "I don't want to kill anybody. I just don't like bullies, no matter where they're from." And just from that moment and onward through the film, you get this sense that the movie has succeeded in making you like Cap. This is, I mean, I'm a peaceful guy, but like I almost get goosebumps sometimes in this movie, and I get goosebumps easily, but I really felt for Captain America, and I felt like this is the kind of guy I would follow into battle. Maybe I'm reading too much into this movie, but it really felt like the movie's dialogue and the tone it was setting made Chris Evans, who usually plays the cocky asshole, he gets to play a more... He's not Johnny Storm here. He's not being unlikable and annoying. He's really... he gets some one-liners, but he is surprisingly sincere in his delivery. And this, I gotta say, this movie is the movie that makes me like Chris Evans. I mean, I liked him in Scott Pilgrim, but that's such a small part. I liked him in... I like Chris Evans in a lot of stuff I've seen him in, like Sunshine and stuff. But then he's always playing the douche. And I've always wanted to see Chris Evans in... I guess the reason why I was scared about this was because it was Chris Evans, and I've seen him as Johnny Storm, and I didn't want that to happen to Cap. And thank God it didn't. He is sincere. The movie feels like it takes itself seriously, and there's almost this Hollywood fuzz to it, in a good way, in a good sense, a fuzziness. Like this movie's almost, even though it's an action movie with good old-fashioned... not American patriotism as much as just unity and overall humane patriotism, and I just really liked it. I like the setting is really well. The 3D in this movie is the best 3D I've seen all year. I don't want to say by far, but I might be forgetting a film somewhere that was good. I mean, I saw some computer animated movies that had pretty good 3D, like Rio and of course Tangled. But as for live action, this is probably the best film I've seen all year in 3D. And unlike Thor, which also was good in 3D, This movie doesn't use the fucking Dutch angle a lot. Like, Dutch angle was, as I explained in my Thor review, is when the camera is all like crooked and the action's being filmed like this, which Kenneth Branagh apparently is really a fan of, or maybe he just felt like he needed to do it in Thor because, you know, he was downgrading himself from whatever fantastic thing he usually does with all the Shakespearean movies. Oh, this crap. I gotta think if there's anything more I want to say, because I don't want to reveal the plot. I guess we should talk about the acting as well. As I said, Chris Evans is great. He gets to play a more sincere character than I ever thought he would be able to play in a movie like this, a popcorn flick. And I think her name was Haley Atwell, like his love interest, what's her name, Peggy Carter, is credit. I think I'm almost getting a little like with her. I'm having a hard time judging her acting because basically she is so, and I really mean she's so fucking beautiful. It's like every time she's not exploitative like Michael Bay style where they try to show you her ass and stuff like that. No, it's like whenever she enters the film, it's like the film stops for a second just to look at her. It's like the classy version of Michael Bay. It's like she comes in, she bats her eyelashes at Cap, and it's like the film just stops for a second. And it's effective as hell because she is so, maybe it's just my mind. Maybe I'm the one who's slowing down. I was like, oh my god, she's so beautiful. And I don't even want to say hot because she's so like, she has big boobs and like I guess a nice ass, even though you don't get to see it. The movie doesn't try to exploit it. She's just a beautiful girl with a hot British accent, of course. One of my biggest complaints with this movie, which one of my friends always wanted to slap me for saying, is I think Hugo Weaving is incredibly, like, he's annoying in this movie. He is so damn over the top in this movie, and it gets to be annoying. He plays Red Skull, and he is so, like, he's campy. I don't really want to use the word campy too much, but he's campy. He has this whole shtick of, you know, like basically just like an Indiana Jones and all that stuff. He's a Nazi with like supernatural, like obsessive like mind focused on supernatural shit, and he uses all this crazy. Oh my god, that's a big damn spider. Okay, we have to get that out of the house later. He has all this dialogue that's incredibly cheesy, and the way he delivers it makes it even worse. It's like I wanted Red Skull to be serious, because Red Skull is supposed to be a guy, as far as I know at least. Red Skull's supposed to be a fucked up dude. He's supposed to be really scary. This Red Skull is not scary. He is annoying in a way, because he's obviously crazy, but he's too crazy. And I get this with Hugo Weaving. Like, my friends were saying that in V for Vendetta, like I'm saying, Hugo Weaving always gets to play over-the-top villains. He wasn't very incredibly over-the-top in the first Matrix, but when they brought him back for Matrix Reloaded, and especially Matrix Revolutions, he was so over-the-top, it was annoying. Same thing in... same thing here. I'm thinking there's got to be there's one more movie. Oh crap, what am I forgetting? What has Hugo Weaving been a bad guy in except for that? My friends were basically using V for Vendetta. V for Vendetta, for some reason, has become some sort of like a landmark for them, trying to use it as a counter. These are my comic nerd friends, by the way. They keep trying to use V for Vendetta, like, excuse everything. Oh, the Wachowski brothers suck. Oh, well, they gave us V for Vendetta, which I was like, you know what, fuck that shit. They did not make anything V for Vendetta. They adapted a screenplay. Woohoo! Alan Moore wrote the fucking story, and guess what? It would be really hard to really mess up V for Vendetta. I bet you someone else could have... Give it to Aaron Sorkin. Don't you think he would have done a better job than the Wachowski brothers did? Well, actually, probably not. He'd probably make it just about talking, and there wouldn't be any action in it. Point being, they were using Hugo Weaving in that movie, saying he wasn't that over the top in that. Yes, he was, but that V is a fucking over the top guy. He's crazy. But again, you didn't get to see his face. Hugo Weaving overacts with his face incredibly in this movie as well. It's like, even when maybe like when he gets when he actually takes off his, because he had in the beginning of the film he has his like normal face on, and then he pulls off a mask and he becomes Red Skull. And it kind of feels like maybe the effects for the Red Skull mask make his expressions like even worse. But it still feels over the top, and it's kind of distracting because I wanted a villain that was actually more threatening than he was annoying and almost laughably over the top. My friends again, they complained about Tommy Lee Jones being over the top, and I'm saying he's like fucking army sergeant. He's supposed to be over the top. Like, I mean, look at R. Lee Ermey in Full Metal Jacket, one of the most serious portrayals of like military boot camp ever. You don't think he's over the top? Guess what? That's how they act. Like, Kubrick was all like, I don't want you in my movie until, like I don't think you can do this until R. Lee Ermey proved to him what it's like, because he was a drill instructor. They're supposed to be over the top, and in fact, I enjoyed Tommy Lee Jones' performance in this movie a lot more than I thought I would. Then there are all these characters that aren't really consequential, like are inconsequential. Bucky's in this movie, but he's not really that prevalent in the story. Dum Dum Dugan is there, like they don't really, I mean they say his name, but they never say his name, so anyone in the audience who doesn't know he's Dum Dum Dugan walking into the movie will know that his name is Dum Dum Dugan by the end of the film. And then there are all these other characters. Basically everyone's in the backseat for Cap. And I guess that's the way it has to be because, well, he's the first Avenger and the movie's about him. And it was incredibly effective in making me love a character that I really did not have much understanding of. And even though maybe a lot of people will be like, yeah, this movie sucked, it didn't do Cap justice. I really like Captain America. And I was in a comic store today and I was thinking about buying a Captain America comic. The only reason I didn't was because I didn't know where to start. So either you can inform me where to start by something down there, or you know, I'll just go to like IGN or Comic Vine and I'll find someone to tell me where to start with Captain America, because I really want to start. I liked what I saw and I want to keep reading Captain America, probably get into some more Avengers in general and get my nerdiness on a little more. Yeah, what I like this. I like the script. I like the setting, and the effects were good. The 3D was great. The acting was great. It's just a fun movie, and I think that's really all you have to take away from this review. Is that it's a fun movie that I think is worth the 2 hours and 5 minutes it took to sit through, and the $15 of the like at the ticket booth. It was a great movie. Go watch it and have fun. Chris Evans impressed me more than I thought he would. If anything, I have to say that the first half of the movie, go figure, is the more interesting one. Because I kind of feel like that's a trend with superhero movies. I felt the first half of Green Lantern was better than the second half. I felt the first half of Thor was better than the second half of Thor. I thought the first half of X-Men First Class was better than the last half. But that was a completely different thing, because that movie was so... The more I think about X-Men First Class, the more I love it. And it could very well end up being in my top 5. It will be in my top 10 favorite movies of this year at the end. I can almost guarantee that. If anything, just because it's got such great acting in it. But this movie... It dips a little bit when it gets to the overall climax. In fact, the climax felt almost anticlimactic, because the finale isn't really a big explosion as much as sort of like a slow like a slow downhill roller coaster. Still good, and sets up like what's coming next very well. And yeah, that's where I want to leave it. Go see Captain America. It deserves your money, and I was literally sitting in the theater waiting for the end credits to get over so we could see the Avengers trailer again. I was sitting there with my freaking Samsung Galaxy S2 and just like flipping through Wikipedia, just wanted to see where the status on the sequel was, because if there's any of these films that like are tying into the Avengers I want a sequel for, it's this one. Yeah. Talk to you later.